Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Gebo the Shaman, and today we're talking about what happens when we have feelings of being trapped, feelings of not being good enough. And so it's, I wanted to make this video in response to a viewer comment that I got just a couple days ago. And let me read this comment to you. He says, to live for others' happiness is suffering. He says, I always feel like I am not good enough, be it in my job, in my personal life, or anywhere else. He says, I frequently ask myself why I'm here in this world called illusion. He says, I feel trapped. And I totally resonate with that. I totally understand. And, it's not easy for me either. I mean, like this idea of like perfectionism or not feeling good enough or, living for other people's happiness or, like this feeling of why am I here, and feeling trapped. So it's a big deal, guys. It's such a hard thing for a lot of people to get through, and I think this is part of the human condition. I'm pretty sure most people have experienced these feelings, so that's why I'm making a video about it, because this person is not alone. One thing that's important to note is that you are not alone if you have these feelings. It is a perfectly normal feeling of being not good enough, feeling trapped and things like that. So it's perfectly normal. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of make a video on this because it is so important. So, that feeling like you're not good enough. Well, so one thing that's important to know about this, about where I'm coming from, is that, guys, I am quote unquote disabled. Some people like to put a fluffy title on it and call it differently abled, but it's still the same thing. So yeah, you want to talk about challenges? I've had a lot of challenges in my life. Probably more than a lot of people. And, yeah, it's been difficult, and it's been, my childhood was not fun. It was very difficult. It was, not a pleasant experience. So, so I totally resonate with the feeling of not being good enough and somehow having to prove yourself or live up to other people's standards or things like that. And this world is not perfect either. There are societies where disabled people are treated like crap, and even here in the United States where I live, it's not the best. It's like the government gives you pretty much just enough to live on, and for me, I can't afford my own apartment right now. I have to depend on my mother. I'm living in her house and things like that. So we've all had challenges. We've all had difficulties. We all had things to overcome, things to work on. For me, childhood trauma, and the fact that I'm like, yeah, not I this in other words, this business is my full-time job. There is no side hustle. There's no other income than this business, and it's taken a while to take off. So, that feeling of being trapped. Tell me about it. Like, there's a million other things that I would rather do than be here right now. Living where I am with my mom and whatever. However, I have options. It's not like I'm not trapped. I have options. I could go struggle very hard, work very hard, and try to be in a different place. But so this thing about basically what I wanted to talk about is I have challenges too. So does everybody. I'm not unique in that. I might have different challenges than other people, or more challenges than other people. However, it's not I don't know. I choose to believe that phrase, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. Because the truth is, like, I choose to believe that I chose to be here. That I made the decision that this is going to be my life. And also, while I'm incarnated, I can choose differently. I can choose that I'm going to move to somewhere tropical and somewhere by the ocean. I mean, so that's the dream for me, is to live somewhere tropical by the ocean, where I can just scuba dive and fish and snorkel and just live how I want to live. And there's nothing stopping me from doing that. So basically so all this is like the kind of introduction to what I wanted to talk about, and it's a long introduction. We're at 8 minutes. So, I'm gonna dissect this. So, the feeling of not being good enough. In my step work, in my program of recovery, I'm choosing to do the 12 steps, and it's something that is always emphasized is progress, not perfection. And the idea of perfectionism is an illusion. And so when you say when this commenter said that he frequently asks himself why he's here in this world of illusion, I translate that as this world of perfectionism. That's a good like comparison kind of thing. So perfectionism, let's talk about that. So you don't feel good enough because I'm assuming, like, most people have this idea of how things are supposed to be. This idea of, well, if I just had this mansion and this car and this girlfriend and lived here and did this and that everything would be perfect, and that I would, I would feel good enough. I would feel perfect. I would feel amazing about myself if I just had these things or had this lifestyle or lived up to this expectation of myself. And however, if you look at Michael Jackson, look at how miserable he was towards the end of his life. I mean, he had everything. He had fame, he had wealth, he had everything. However, it didn't satisfy him. He didn't feel good enough either. He was miserable having all that stuff. So this is the real issue is that you have this external, like, I'm generalizing here, but some people have this external image of what their life is supposed to look like, and they're not going to allow themselves to be happy if they don't have that. So this is a very key thing. So if we have this external image of what our life is supposed to look like, and we don't measure up to that, that's because we're getting our value from the outside. We're taking what other people told us is success and happiness and prosperity and perfection and all this stuff. We're taking that from the outside and we are internalizing it. Like, oh, because I don't have this, I'm not good enough, kind of thing. Well, the truth is that you, just by breathing air, just by having your heart beat, just by existing in this world, you are good enough. So yeah, this is where we get our internal value. It's one of the things that a good mother, a good parent is supposed to do when we are a baby is to instill in us that we are unconditionally loved, unconditionally valued and loved and appreciated, and that we are important. And that's the truth. We are. Each of us comes into this world for a specific purpose. And, so I want to stick with this feeling of not good enough. Talking about that. So instead of getting our value from outside of us, what we're supposed to measure up to, what we're supposed to do, we need to instead build our self-worth from the inside. And it's a lifelong process. It's not going to be solved overnight. However, some journaling things, like what like I would encourage everyone to, like, if you're feeling low or not good enough, or maybe unworthy, unlovable, things like that, think about the first time that happened to you in your life. Go back in your mind to the first time that you felt not good enough or unlovable. or devalued or something like that. Just go back in your mind to the first time that you felt that way. And there was probably a lot of sadness in that little kid, in that child who was feeling that. So I want you to go ahead and comfort your inner child. Like, you need to reparent him. You need to, tell him that he's loved. Like, so this is what I do with my clients. It's like, we learn how to reparent, and we learn how to, love ourselves, even when we're feeling like crap about ourselves, because the truth is that we are unconditionally loved. The universe has unconditional love for us. However, so we need to cultivate that unconditional love for ourselves internally. And this is what the Cosmic Qigong course and the Self-Transformation course do. They tap into Qi energy. And what is Qi? Qi is universal life force energy. It is unconditional love. So when we do those practices, we will feel more loving towards ourselves and others. So I totally get the feeling of not being good enough, of being worthless, unacceptable, blah blah blah. I mean, in my church, growing up, I was raised Catholic. In my church growing up, they would say things like, like disabled people are worthless and things like this. They would say that, and I had this feeling like, growing up, that I was totally worthless and unlovable, and so, it was really hard. However, and it's shitty to feel that way about yourself. I know, because I felt that way about myself for so long. However, it's not the truth. The lies we tell us, the lies that we tell ourselves in our own minds. It's the truth is that we are loved, and we are valuable, and we are good enough. And you know what? As long as we're doing our best is good enough. Our imperfect best is good enough. So there's that. So like that, I'm gonna actually be coming up with shamanic journeys and into shamanic journeys and meditations into our inner child and into our past childhood traumas and things like that. That's going to be available on my Patreon site through the emotional awareness course very soon, and I'm working on that and putting it together. So I still need to work on my book, on my Vedic astrology book, but that everything in its due time. So so yeah, that, like, a lot of people hide their emotions. It's like, they feel not good enough, but they instead of like being sad about that and feeling sad, which you should feel sad that you don't feel good enough, you should allow yourself to cry about it, to to express those emotions. But in society, we're taught, oh, men don't cry, or like, it's not, you're being too emotional, blah, blah, blah. It's not good to cry. So, yeah. So, release those emotions. The only way out is through. So allow yourself to feel that way. Allow yourself to feel sad. Allow yourself to feel those emotions that come up. And comfort yourself through that. It's like, it's important to comfort ourselves when we're feeling emotions. So yeah, that thing about not feeling good enough, be it in my job, in my personal life, or anywhere else, I think I covered that. So, and then frequently asking myself, I'm just reading his comment. He says, I frequently ask myself why I'm here in this world called illusion. He says, I feel trapped. I totally understand that. And it's that you see how these two things are tied together? This lack of self-worth and this sense of meaninglessness. Well, if you valued yourself, if you valued your existence, if you valued your life and your happiness, your personal happiness and enjoyment and joy and fulfillment, if you valued that, then you'd have purpose. That's why you feel trapped. It's because you feel like you don't know why you're here. So that's why I do my life coaching. My career coaching and my life coaching is geared towards finding your happiness in this life, finding the thing that makes you happy, that gives you joy, and going out and doing that to the best of your ability. Because the truth is, whatever gives you joy, odds are that other people are going to be into the same thing. So there is money to be made in doing everything that gives you joy in this life and happiness. So there's no reason to work a dead-end job, a job you hate, do anything that you don't like to do or want to do. Because the truth is, you can do anything you want in this life. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. You are totally free to live your authentic, true self. You are totally free to be who you want to be in this life. Do what you want to do in this life. Live the way that you want to live in this life. However, if you don't value yourself, it's very hard to know like what you're supposed to be doing, because the thing about it is, like, most people have been told, ignore your feelings, ignore the way you feel, ignore your wants, your desires, your happiness, the things that gives you joy. Most people have been told to ignore those things and to not pay attention and just do what you're told, go along with the narrative, go along with, whatever society expects of you. Don't pay attention to anything that you want of your own self-will and things like that. Just focus on what you need to do for society. Well, that's not good. That's not right. So, what we do instead is we love ourselves and we do what makes us happy, personally and selfishly. So yeah, that feeling of being trapped. Trying to keep this a little bit short for you. So the feeling of being trapped, I get that. I understand that because this world feels so dense and so low vibrational. However, yeah, and it is. It's basically, this is as far as we can get from being in communion with our soul. The 3D is as far as we could get from our soul. However, our soul is still with us. Our divine eternal essence is within us. So this feeling of being trapped, I totally understand that, because I feel trapped sometimes, and that's a totally normal feeling. However, what is the purpose of our incarnation? It is to have an experience. It is for our soul to experience this life and to learn and to grow as a result of that. You see, before we were born, we decided what we wanted to do, what we wanted to be, what we want, like everything about our lives, like where we were born, who our parents were, things like that. And so this is just what we chose. And so, if we experienced any kind of struggle, any kind of pain, any kind of trauma, that's what our choice was. And now, so if we experienced that stuff in childhood, that was our choice before we incarnated. However, now that we're adults, we can do whatever we want. We can make the life that we want, and it's all about personal growth, overcoming that programming, that negative programming that tells us that we're not good enough, that we'll never amount to anything, and that all that stuff. So that's all programming. It's all old beliefs, old thoughts, and believe it or not, it can be overcome. So if you begin to work with me, we will begin to untangle this web of thoughts and things like that. So these ingrained beliefs and patterns and stuff like that. So so what else? So that's about all I wanted to say, guys. So it's all about finding self-love and finding the things that we want to do in life and going after those. Because the truth is, the people who are going after everything that they want in life, everything that they wanted to achieve, they're less likely to feel trapped, because it's like they're doing what makes them happy. you know. So anyway, guys, so that does it for me. So if you're interested in anything that I have to offer, I do have life coaching available. I do have career coaching available, and life coaching, I'm starting to tailor that towards childhood trauma. I really want to work with people who need help in recovering from childhood trauma. And as far as career coaching, that's a great way to discover your path and purpose in this life. So there's that as well. Also, we have the Qigong courses. So we have the Cosmic Qigong and the Self Transformation Challenge. So both of these courses are great for taking your energy levels and boosting them up to the next level. Both of those courses tap into the Shen energy of the heart center, which protects your soul. So when we tap into that energy, we begin to release our emotions and begin a cleansing process in our lives, in our body, in our emotional body, in our psychological body, things like that. And it's very healing and transformative. So check those courses out. And then we have the, we have the emotional awareness course. So the emotional awareness course, I am going to change that, to be more of a childhood trauma course, and I'm going to be releasing some guided meditations to release childhood trauma and feel self-love and feel self-acceptance and things like that, because that's pretty huge. So then we have the distance energy healing. So that's another great course, that's another great that's a session. So I do distance energy healing, so if you're interested in that, check that out. I am also a Vedic astrologer. I do offer my Vedic astrology certification course, Vedic astrology readings, and of course birth time rectification. So you can check those things out too. And last but not least, this self-transformation challenge combines Qigong with Kundalini Yoga. So it's very powerful. And it combines Qigong, Kundalini Yoga, meditation, and the energy of the heart center. So I would check those courses out. In fact, I just got a review, a positive review today about one of my courses, and I'm very happy to hear that my student is progressing very well on her spiritual journey, and getting some physical healing as well. So that's awesome. Alright guys, so that does it for me. So if you want to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and we will talk to you next time. Alright, peace.